Thanks for checking out this highlight from the Casually Hardcore podcast. If you want to check out the full podcast after the show, please be sure to hit the top link in the description. But now, let's do it. All speculation. We had a recent interview. But before we do that, guys, if you're watching this as a highlight, Chris has a special charity event going on this Saturday at 8 p.m. Central Time. Chris, why don't you tell people about it, and then we'll dive into this topic.
I'm going to be running my first time into Diamond Extreme and E9S, and we'll see if we get further with Llama Todd. So I'll be co-streaming that over on our Twitch page, and we are raising money for the fight against cancer. So come hang out.
Absolutely. Larry, what do you want to see for the Summoner? You can bake in Scholar changes as well. But this is a time for an expansion. Last time we got like full-on Machinist rework, which I think really kind of paved the way. People were really excited about it. I still enjoy it coming off of the media tour and even to this day. But you and I are, like you switch in and out, like I switch in and out a little bit. But Summoner has been something that I've been taking since 2.0. And I haven't played it much this whole expansion based off his changes. Yoshi P has recently had an interview with Mr. Happy, and it talked about Eggy Glamours and the potential for the Summoner kind of hitting their theoretical max and them having to reconsider certain things about it. So obviously pure speculation from people who do not know what Yoshi P is doing or the team's doing to Summoner. But Larry, what would you like to see with the Summoner in Endwalker?
Maybe I do know what Yoshi P is doing. I might have a phone in my office that's directly tied to Yoshi P.
It's a red line.
I might actually know.
Brian has when you donate bits on our stream, there's different like GIFs that play, and there's one that Brian says, "Hey, for you supporting our channel, I'm going to give you Mail Vieira." And that means yeah. Who knew it was that easy?
Who knew? You guys donated enough. And wish granted. What's the next thing? What next wish should this genie grant?
I would have said Eggy Glamours, but now I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah.
I would have been like, put in the good word for the Eggy Glamours. I mean, really, I'm not surprised whatsoever that there's going to be another Summoner overhaul, because people ask me all the time. They're like, Larry, how do you manage to main the same job for what is it, 8 years now since our own born or whatever it is, like 2 years per expansion? How are you still maining Summoner that whole time? And I go, well, it's easy. Every expansion is just a brand new job anyway, so I get something new every time. So yeah, I'm not surprised whatsoever that there's going to be another Summoner rework. I was expecting it. But yeah, I mean, what I wanted initially was just getting rid of Eggies altogether and just moving more over to how the demi summon system works. Because I feel like the demi summons are a little bit different than how the other jobs have like their summons. For instance, like Dark Knight with Frey, Machinist with their mech. Like both of those are kind of just push the button and they get summoned and you set it and forget it. Whereas Summoner, the demi summon comes out and your abilities get augmented. You doing things will affect the demi summon attacking. You can give the demi summon commands. Like it's a little bit different, and so they end up working just way better, and they look way cooler than what the Eggies look like, right?
Yes.
So right off the bat, I was like, I just want full on just demi summons, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right. So after that interview with Mr. Happy and him saying, well, we put the Eggy Glamours on hold, right? It's kind of like, oh, are you actually doing that then? Because I had asked him this when we were at the media tour, when they revealed that Summoner was going to have the Phoenix demi summon, right? So my question was like, okay, so now that we have Phoenix and we have 2 demi summons now, is this the reason why we haven't had Eggy Glamours? Like, is this the reason? Are we moving more towards having demi summons now instead? And his response immediately, he was just like, first of all, Eggy Glamours have nothing to do with demi summons. And I was like, oh, I made Yoshi P angry. But it ended up being like something like that probably. So, I mean, what I would like is maybe kind of something similar to what Reaper is doing, like for the old Eggy attacks. Like if you were to do, for instance, like the Garuda AoE, like you would still have that button, but a Garuda would just pop up behind you, do the cast, and then go away. Or something like that. Like it just becomes baked into your animations instead of always having an Eggy out instead. So I feel like that would work out better because then you don't got to worry about wonky pet AI as much. And I think that would kind of just completely solve that issue. There's gonna be wonky pet AI with demi summons anyways, though. So it's just baked into the job.
Maybe like obviously just fan theory here, and we I was hoping that we would see something about maybe like the limited job Beastmaster, and when it comes down to, let's say we ever do get something like that, or even a Puppet Master, in my mind the back end, the code behind is them reworking pets, right? Because if you're like, hey, we had to create like a real full-on pet system if we ever introduce either of those two, even in their limited form, that it could prove to be beneficial throughout the core game. Because Yoshi P, when we talked to him, he said, they rewrote the whole Chocobo companion system from the ground up, and that rolled out in a patch, and it wasn't even a patch note. Like, they don't sit here and say, hey, like, but yeah. And nobody from the point 3 to point 4 was like, oh yeah, like I can tell, like no, like, but they had to, because they had to replace some of that core design so they could get to where they want to go. And that's you and me, both programmers, we live in that world. Rework is not the most exciting work, and if it sucks, but sometimes it just has to happen. Knowing what we know 10 years later, oh man, like we really need to kind of rethink how this system over here is actually designed. But beyond that aspect, like I agree with you. Like the demi summons are cool, and where you have it's gotten to the point where the fact that they don't even take damage, Titan doesn't even tank anymore. And it's like he can't tank for you. That's one of the things I enjoyed about playing it just solo. It's like having my Chocobo, have my Titan, and I'm going out, and
we're like you were a whole party.
I was a whole team, like out in the open world. I was like Summoner, one man wrecking squad. But what I want to see is I've debated on this, and I think if you could actually, in my mind, keep Carbuncle and just let the Summoner have the Carbuncle pet, and the Carbunky does what they want. They do their thing, and then they evolve into that Demi summon, just like you said, and we're just like with Ifrit, Garuda, or whoever you choose, because I still would love to see more choice. We've gotten so many primals. It'd be great to have them all in that Demi form, and then essentially, like with Phoenix, it actually alters your skills. Like, okay, you're Garuda now. Like, okay, yeah, Garuda's out, and she's out for your AOE rotation or whatever, and now your skills are all wind based. I don't know, like, right? But exactly that, because one of the things that I loved about when Phoenix comes out, Phoenix actually changes your skills. Bahamut doesn't. And I was like, I think what if your summon impacted your summoner? And I think that would be something that I would really love to kind of play around with. And then if they do, like, let's say there's still like 3 or 4, because at some point you can't just sit here and say, now you have 3 demi summons plus your pet.
You can't.
Right.
Yeah, they got to change how it works somehow. Like maybe like interim demi summons or something, like something has to change in that way. But yeah, like for sure, like I could almost guarantee that we're going to get something like that with Bahamut, where it's going to alter your, like, because that's such an easy thing to do that isn't going to change your kit all that much.
Yeah.
Like it's just going to, like, new skills that you'll unlock while you have Bahamut out, right? Like your Ruin will become Mega Flare or something, right? So yeah, something like that. And that's just like, it doesn't change your rotation at all, right? I mean, actually, the Phoenix one does a little bit. It doesn't. It doesn't substantially change your rotation, and it just adds so much flavor, and it just makes you feel cool, because that's what they've said. They were like, we want every job to have the part that makes you feel cool, just like Paladin wings, like the wings behind the Paladin. They want every job to have something like that. And I think Summoner has that with both Bahamut and Phoenix, right? Like that's the part that I love, that makes me feel cool while I'm playing Summoner. So just make it even cooler, right? And then, yeah, I like incorporating more summons, like some kind of, like, they could do choice in the way of just cosmetic. And that's really the only way that they realistically could do it, because if there's choice and they actually are functionally different, there isn't really a choice. There's one that's correct, right? So, and I mean, yeah, I am a little sad about losing Titan overall, like as like a tanking pet. I didn't really use him much, really, and ever since after Heavensward, because when Stormblood came out, I mean, yeah, you still had Titan, and Titan could still tank, but realistically you couldn't, because he would become Bahamut, so he would just go away. So we actually have lost Titan tanking ability since Heavensward. So that's been gone for a long time, actually.
Right.
But it did allow you to do like those solo things of like going into like extreme primals and being able to like, you could like solo Garuda extreme back in Heavensward with Summoner. So it let you do cool stuff. But
what I envy about Summoner as a non-summoner is the cosmetics of it, like that ability, the idea that you could swap in other summons. Because this game doesn't really have like upgraded spells. Like as a warrior main, like I don't have a way to like change the color of my fell cleave and make it some like awesome thing. Like there's so much personality available through that. Like, oh, well, we'll just make the summon do the same thing, but be a different summon. And then the question becomes, how do you unlock that? And it's like, oh, well, you unlock that by beating extreme solo 10 times. Like you could have this almost like masked carnival, like let's let summoners go dive down their own progression. And I can just tell you, like, that's the sort of thing where as a warrior main, I would go, well, that seems unfair. Like when you were saying Reaper was so cool, it's like that would be the sort of thing where then Summoner would be like, well, screw you. Like, we'll be over here with just our one version of abilities.
Exactly, which is what the Eggy Glamour system initially was going to be like. I thought was it'll have all these Eggy Glamours that you can unlock by doing content. And I think they actually said that almost verbatim, was it would be stuff that you could unlock, right? And I was like, that would be so cool and almost so unfair to every other job because you have customization in the way your abilities look, right? So I don't know, time will tell with that. But that's also what I am hoping, is that they just completely get rid of Eggies and that they go more into the cosmetic way of doing your skills and altering your skills. Like, right, you go into a Garuda stance and now you have all wind-based attacks, right? Instead of just ruin, right?
That would avoid skill bloat, right? Because then each expansion you
can add more summons,
in different primals, and you don't actually increase the number of abilities on the bar.
Exactly.
And you don't take it, and you don't. So then you don't have to prune, because the problem with pruning is it makes all the new players. It just makes like the 1 to 50 grind worse and worse. If like if you take something, if you take like a level 40 ability away to give us a level 95 ability, then like the level 95 players like, what are you complaining about? Like, it's fine. And then like somebody new to the game is like, I have one button left on the bar. Like I have one button until level 50 because you guys kept taking them away.
Exactly. Which the Phoenix one did it so well, because it actually, not only does it augment your abilities, you change what you do, albeit it's one button extra, but you change what you do, right? You're like, you go into a Phoenix mode and you feel different while you're in Phoenix because you have to do 1 2 1 2, right? It's just doing 1 2 1 2, but it feels different. So that's what I want it to be. You go into a demi summon and you feel different depending which demi summon you're in. That would be perfect. And just I never would leave Summoner anyway, but I would super never leave it. I would have even more reason to never play anything else if it was like that.
I mean, Enochian drastically changes Black Mage.
Yes.
So like you can just add one that like so if they had added one ability, hopefully it's something like that where it's like that changes literally everything.
Yeah.
Right. You know, so hopefully we're not adding 2, 3, 4 buttons to the bar to some of these jobs. We'll have to see how all the job changes shake out, but hard changes are actually like really hard on people that are late to the game. When you're like, well, I want to learn the job as I go. It's like, oh, what are you playing? Well, I'm playing like Bard. And so I'm level 50 right now and I'm really trying to learn. Well, that's going to change. Oh, well, I was thinking about playing Black Mage. Well, that's going to change.
That's
so,
super changes.
Like, the
whole
just
way.
Ignore it. Like if you're somebody who has trouble getting old information out of your head to learn new information, maybe don't read your tooltips. Like this is just going to confuse you later because it does. Some of these jobs change that much as opposed to some jobs feel very like it's just an iteration on where I was.
The overall concept would stay the same, but sometimes even the concept changes. But like for Black Mage, like your overall concept is the same. You want to fire phase for damage, ice to go back up, right? It's like, okay, I'll follow that, and then but it changes so much that
how do I do that?
Totally different. How do you do it? Exactly.
Totally different.
I think outside of like Summoner though, like one of the things I want to see, I love to see them bring back Burst for Black Mages. It's a 1.0 ancient magic spell, so they took that away. It's lightning based, and essentially it was the like if you have Flare for fire, freeze for ice. Burst was the thunder based ancient magic, and they've introduced all this other like black magic, and I'm like,
a
where's
spell called burst?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Well, if you're asking me, like, what's the next wish that I would like to grant? I'd like to, if you guys donate enough bits, I will make sure they fix the naming, the spell naming stuff here in this game. Like, it drives.
Firaga?
Brian can give us Firaga.
Here's Firaga. Well, especially in terms of like single target versus AoE, it drives me nuts because there is no consistency in spell naming. It's like if you just base it off of Black Mage to start. All right, Fire 1, single target. Fire 2, AoE. Fire 3, single target. Fire 4, single target.
Yeah.
Like, okay, all right. And then it's like, okay, Blizzard 1, single target. Blizzard 2, multi-target. It's like, okay, evens.
And then Thunder, don't even get started on Thunder. And,
and it's like, you son of a gun. And it's like, I love to see them just sitting here. And they have, like, and I've said this, and people are like, but in the lore, in the library, it says they have this naming thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go and say y'all got it wrong. Like, just sit here, like, we had a new convenience of the council and said if it's single target, you can have it numbered. If it's multi-target, added a good.
No, the male seahorses do have the babies.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Let's go.
Change your mind.
It also makes it difficult for new people too, because they get Fire 1, they're like, okay, this is my spam spell. Fire 2, oh, that's my new spam spell. Fire 3, that's my new spam spell. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, dude. Anyway, like, so yeah, I'd love to see them kind of revisit that. And I think that will be another question I have for Yoshi P. Can you please just read the spells?
Yeah.
Get us.
Sorry, buddy. I don't think they're gonna do that.
Never. No, but it'll be my new Twitter campaign after we get it finally on Xbox in 2025. It's like, yes, okay. One campaign.
Probably not gonna have that either.
Not even 2025. No. If it comes to GeForce Now, I'll be completely happy. I'll be really satisfied if they bring it to that. But one day at a time. I hope that you really enjoyed that highlight, and I hope that you check out the full podcast. Again, link is in the description. Thanks for being here, and I hope you have a fantastic day, you wonderful, beautiful individual.